define slope. What is it? Why is it? How does it is used? Let's just talk about slope. So first of all, slope is rise over run. That's the way a lot of people think about it. When you think about the word rise, right? Rise goes this way. Run is this way. So we're talking about the vertical over the horizontal. So change in y, the y-axis is the vertical, the change in x is the horizontal. So that's the idea. And when we think of the word change, that is subtraction. So what it is it's if we have 2 points on the coordinate plane, we are subtracting, right? So we have the idea of if I have these 2 points, then I can say, well, I have x and, I'm not really sure how I just did that. I love exciting things. So each one of these, we would have an x1 and a y1, and then down here we would have x2 and y2. So those would be like the ordered pairs. And we could subtract the ordered pairs in order to find the slope. So when you think about a graphic like this, just this coordinate plane, we have any line. So this line would have a positive slope because when we would subtract the y values over the x values, we would get a positive number. If we would have a line going this way, it would have a negative slope. But any line, right, we're talking about the steepness. Slope is talking about the steepness of the line. Now, if we think about where is this in the real world? So if we're looking at, come on, next slide. Come with me. There we go. Okay, so on this slide, we have the roof of a house. So if you think about the roof of a house and what that looks like. So if I think from the top of the roof and the bottom of the roof, right? So if we're talking about the vertical, right? Because we're talking about the change in the y's over the change in the x's. That is the idea. So if we're talking about this roof here, that side, if we would say, let's say this is 10 feet, and then from here to here would be 8. So we could say 10 over 8. That means for every, well, this would reduce to 5 over 4. If this is talking about feet, it means for every 5 feet we go up, we're going 4 feet to the right. That's the idea of slope. It gives you a direction. So for every 5 feet we go up, it's covering 4 feet this way. So you can talk about the steepness. That's, I think, actually pretty steep. So I probably am not real on there with my but it looks like a steep roof, so that makes sense. So we will talk about the steepness of roofs, and I'm sure if you're a builder that's something that you work with. And then we also, I'm sure we've all been on a road where we see things like this of 15% grade, and you can see this car is going downhill. Well, what that means, if we think about 15% means out of 100. So this is the same as 15 over 100. And we're going down. So that means if we're talking about feet, for every 15 feet we go down, we are going 100 feet forward. Or you can think about it this way, as I'm driving my car, for every 100 feet we drive forward, the sea level, I guess, the vertical elevation above sea level is going down by 15 feet. So you can say, well, is that a lot? Is that not a lot? Yeah, 15% grade is a lot. You see a lot of these when you're driving around in the mountains, especially if semi-trucks, those kind of things, whether you're going downhill or uphill, so that you know if you are driving a manual car and you're going uphill, you might have to shift in a certain way. So these are really important for you to understand what that means. If you see something like this with a 15% grade, you might also, as you're going around corners, see these off ramps. I think it's really interesting when you're driving in the mountains because if semis are going downhill, right? Obviously, if we're going downhill, we're gaining speed because of gravity, right? Pulling us down. And it's kind of a nice thing with physics, if you will. And so they have these like ramps off to the side so that if semis lose control and they can't stop, they can like go off into these like side things that will like slow them down without causing accidents. So the grade, percent grade when you're talking about roadways, whether it's an increase or a decrease, and then also talking about the steepness of a roof. So these are real life examples of slope, but the idea and the definition of slope, we're talking about the change in the y values over the change in the x values. So vertical change over horizontal change.